people like engineers. So I discovered biomedical engineering, and I thought that it was the perfect combination of actively helping people improve while also getting to generate and create my own designs. Um, and I honestly feel like for my field or for my research, being able to actually improve the lives of people who might be suffering is just a really important part of that. And I just think it's a core idea that should be thought of when doing a field like that. I'm not sure if anyone thinks differently, but that's my own personal opinion.
No, that's really respectable. Yours and Tahira's.
And this house for 6 minutes.
I think there's some new people that are coming in. So just to catch everyone up, we are talking about us panelists. We're talking about our interests and research fields in school and how we sort of want to apply them to everyone's everyday life. So yeah, uh, we're going over some questions. I think next up was me. We're going over question one, by the way. So what inspired you to choose your research interest field or fields, and how do you think they should be applied? So I have a couple seemingly kind of unrelated research slash interest fields, but my biggest one is cybersecurity. So I I was always interested in programming and computers. That was from a very young age. Video games, that was my bread and butter. But it wasn't until high school that I got interested in cybersecurity specifically. From like a cool little competition we did. But then that kind of gave me the experience of like playing the hero and doing something using like my passion for just tech and computer science to actually like make a really like important difference for people, um, any companies, people, just everyone. So ever since that, I knew that I wanted to do something more in cybersecurity in terms of a job and even research. Um, it As far as my other interests, they kind of are they are more related than one may think because, for example, artificial intelligence and machine learning can help benefit cybersecurity. They're both very big fields separately, but I like the prospect of what AI and machine learning or ML offers to cybersecurity. And hey, robots, cool. So yeah, that's what primarily inspired me. So we can move on to question two. Whoever wants to do that one first. I can. Jasmine, do you want it or?
Oh, if you had a response in mind, then you can go, but I don't mind going.
I'll go. Yeah, I got it. So, how does your research slash major impact you outside the classroom? Um, my research slash well, my major computer science. I feel like I don't really have to talk about how that impacts not just me but literally everyone outside the classroom. Computer science is in the core of a lot of things we do today. Technology and how advanced we are being is all founded on many things, but computer science is a huge part of that. So, specifically, cybersecurity, my interest. It's also, hopefully, it is clear that cybersecurity has big implications and impacts on people outside the classroom. Like I said, computer science is at the heart of a lot of things we do, like being able to have this cool workshop and talk to people who are in completely different geographical locations. Security wise, random people coming in and, doing whatever, messing up the workshop, or if this was a bit more important meeting, like maybe in a company or between just like politically or whatever it may be, of course you don't, that needs to be secure and safe. So we're everywhere where computer science goes, security kind of has to follow, or at least that's what I think about, or that's how I think about it. So yeah, they're intertwined and especially very important now as we get more technologically advanced. I can pass it off to Jasmine or Tahira.
Yeah, I can go. To summarize for anybody who just got into the WebEx meeting, my name is Jasmine Williams, and I am a biomedical engineering major who focuses more on biomaterials, hands-on research, and healthcare reform. So this answer is, I guess, more focused on healthcare reform. I know during the pandemic or during quarantine, I actually spent a lot of time looking into different disparities that exist in the current US healthcare system. And a lot of people can end up either being improperly diagnosed, or even severely injured and killed because of assumptions that materials that future doctors and nurses use to actually get into the field. And things like that seem really small, but can have long lasting impacts on people who are going in and trying to receive help. So, just thinking about how fixing or trying to improve the system can go a long way, because there are people whose lives may be on the line because current problems like that exist. So even thinking past a textbook solution, the way that people are trained, the way people are informed, have impacts and consequences that we might not consider in our day-to-day lives, but years on, if they're improved, a lot more people can be properly informed of different procedures or the different ways diseases can appear for people with different skin colors. And I know that I'm going off on a tangent, but one thing that I actually found out during my research was a medical student who looked at the different diseases or different illnesses that could appear or have different symptoms for people of different races or different nationalities, and was trying to help push that book into medical schools and trainings so doctors could be properly informed of the different ways symptoms could show up, and just making sure that the harm that is currently going on with the healthcare system wouldn't last. And I feel like thinking about things like that really do have an impact, because you are trying to make sure the damage that was done to you doesn't happen to, let's say, the people that come after you, your children, the next generation. So just the idea of that really gets me going, and it really makes me want to continue my research. And I can pass it on to Tara.
Thank you. Very hard to follow that. Again, for anyone who missed it, my major is chemical engineering ×2. Now a grad student doing chemical engineering, and undergrad in chemical engineering. I'm interested in water, renewable energy, and biotech, but mostly water and renewable energy. Those have been my things for a very long time. But outside of the classroom, those things they impact everyone. Like everyone needs clean water. There's local water treatment places everywhere. to just supply water straight to you. And if that's not clean, if that's not safe for you to drink, then there's a huge problem there. If you look at like Flint, Michigan, there's lead in the water because someone didn't feel like replacing the pipes when they needed to be replaced a long time ago. So now there's lead leaking into the water system. And even if it's not just running water that you need, like it's so inconvenient and it's just unhealthy and it causes like brain damage and all these other things in kids. So it's essentially poisoning when you're just supposed to have clean water. Other things like the other side of water treatment and like waste removal and stuff is um, like nuclear waste sites or like places where chemical plants are built near neighborhoods of color. And so all the wastewater or whatever is leaving that plant is going into the water system, it's going into the soil, into those houses nearby. So those people are going to be affected. Meanwhile, like maybe a few blocks away, there's no chemical plant and there's no like poisonous chemicals in the environment nearby. So that's another kind of disparity that I'm interested in learning more about and also fixing. And then renewable energy, I mentioned earlier, um, we have to, the world is going a little quickly than we intended with like all the pollution from fossil fuels. So moving away from drilling for oil in oceans, it also affects water supply, but drilling for oil in the oceans, exploiting other countries for their oil when there's other options that just need money to be invested in them and for people to like kind of switch over to them is something really important. So I'm from Arizona. A lot of the houses out there, we have solar panels on our houses because the sun's super abundant. So different places around the country, like Texas, they have their wind turbines, kind of just harnessing what naturally occurs in an area and kind of making it the best it can be to help for that kind of area. So yeah, big things big things have to change around the world, but it's good to know like what you have to fix first.
Yeah, that's a good note to leave that off on. Uh, for question three, what will happen to your research slash interest as time goes on? What's the outlook? Um, anyone want to start with that?
I can start with that. So I'm going to be a little hopeful and say that in the ideal future, healthcare reforms won't be as necessary because people will take the time to actually address the problems that are occurring and create a solution to solve them. For biomaterials, I also want to be hopeful and say that
I
we'll
think,
be
wait,
able.
Jasmine, I don't know if it's just me or not, but your audio is, I can hear you, but it's just it's going like in and out, I think. Um,
Is this better?
no, I think it still did it.
I don't know if this changes anything.
Oh no, yeah, that's good.
Okay, apologies for that. I can start over again. Like I was saying before, I'm going to be hopeful and say that in an ideal world, healthcare reforms won't be as necessary in the future because people will take the time to address the current issues that exist, take time to think of appropriate solutions that will hopefully improve the standard of living, not only in the US, but everywhere in the world, and actually think of standards that won't favor set of people over another. Um, for biomaterials, I'm also going to be hopeful and say that right now it's looking like we can do a lot more and use more biocompatible, biodegradable materials for things that might not have been possible in the past. And use those materials to replace other materials that are causing pollution. It's just thinking of a way to actually reduce landfill landfill mass. I'm sorry, that feels like it's weird crises, but just really using biomaterials to cut down on the amount of pollution that exists on Earth and just everywhere to hopefully make a more environmentally friendly future. And I think that's about it for me. If Nathan or Tara wants to go next.
I can go if that's all right. Um, I think cybersecurity is definitely like for those unaware, last year, yeah, it was last year and sort of towards the end of the year before that, there was a lot of high profile ransomware attacks. So just like, breaking into company systems and either leaking things or basically demanding payment for having access or the having access to the data really is that was like really big last year, just because there was a lot of like high profile ones, and then that led to a lot of like issues with insurance claims and just inconveniences for a whole bunch of other branching off companies and other businesses that use certain software or solutions. So it had a lot of wide-reaching impacts. So I know this year, specifically from like the government and stuff, they're trying to step in more so and sort of erect more documentation and requirements for everyone, and well, a lot of companies more so than just us. But so that's already happening like now. So I think in the immediate future, that's gonna only hopefully grow because there does need to be more regulation in that sense of more people need to be held accountable and need to make sure they're doing the right thing in their in however they're either setting up systems or making software or anything like that. um so yeah, the outlook I want to say is hopefully I think not enough, because I mean these things are always going to happen, but I think a lot of attacks and various things have shown people that this should be taken more seriously than just don't write your password down on a sticky note and stick it in your office or something, like, I mean that's important and no, you shouldn't do that, but there are more things that could be done that is not being done. So I I'm optimistic in the sense that it will hopefully people will take it more seriously. And in terms of my AI machine learning interest, I know that one it's growing rapidly. Like it's a field that is everyone can agree on it's growing very, very fast, which can be good and can be bad. Because again, if it's growing very fast, like I mentioned with like the cybersecurity thing, it might not have time to catch up. And for something like machine learning and AI that has a very great impact for everyone, like you can use Face ID on your phone. You just have to you just have to scan your face a couple of times, and the phone knows you. So like we're moving very, very fast, right? And especially in the world of like consumer electronics too. All that, like they go in hand in hand. Cybersecurity needs to catch up with that, and we need to be careful about what we want to be done by AI and what should not be done by AI. You know what I mean? So it's just both fields going incredibly fast. We just need to make sure we're handling this rapid growth well. Uh, and with that, I will pass it to Tahira.
So for my interest fields, I think They're growing not as fast as like the tech field is growing, but they are growing. For renewable energy specifically, I know that in the United States we have the Department of Energy, and they kind of put out competitions and funding every year for people to develop like more renewable energy methods, air purification methods, things that will take like carbon dioxide out of the air, which is a greenhouse gas. That's what makes the earth a little bit hotter because it traps the heat from the sun. So there's research going into that every year. There's new competitions and new people just kind of finding different ways to reduce the impact of climate change. Water treatment, not sure how fast that industry is kind of moving, but I envision a world where everyone has access to clean water, um, clean running water for drinking, showering, cooking, everything else they need water for, because it's essential to life. And then biotech field, is also growing super quickly. One example for that is like the COVID vaccine. So I think Pfizer made theirs first, and that's because there were years of technology in the past of making these messenger RNA vaccines. So it was a new type. So after all that background and kind of developing technology, slowly and slowly, there came a time like 2 years ago. They're like, oh, well, we can just build off of that, and we have all this new technology now. So let's make these vaccines. And now we have like three main ones in the US and more around the world too. So that's like growing super quickly and is going to keep growing too to kind of be used for other applications. I think for my homework yesterday, I had to read an article, and it was someone's working on a vaccine that would prevent cancer in human beings, but they're doing dog trials with it right now. So that's like a outlook into the future, but just imagining all the possibilities for that for everyone around the world, basically.
That's really cool. I didn't know about that. That is very cool. Hopefully the dogs are okay, right?
It's okay. It's it's a 5-year trial, 5-year clinical trials.
Okay. That's good. Um, I noticed we have about like 20 minutes before we have to like kind of be done. So how about we like sort of combine the next two questions so that we can go through them? Is that you think that's a good idea or
Yeah.
cool? So question 4, how can people get involved in your research or interests? And then question 5 was how RPI has cultivated sort of contributed to your research or interests. Does anyone else want to start off with either, I guess, those?
I can start. I'd say for getting involved, just kind of just start Googling things. That's how a lot of good things are discovered if you're interested in it. Just start Googling. You can Google water treatment, you can Google renewable energy, like what you can do as an individual to kind of reduce your environmental impact, but that's never going to be on the scale that we need it to be from these like big fossil fuel corporations. So if you're not able to do that, do not worry. Everyone does not need to have an electric car at this very second. Um, but just Google it and kind of see if you're interested in anything. Doesn't have to be directly connected to like water. This goes for all kind of industries. Just see what you're interested in, see what you think. Maybe I can help here, or also figure out, I don't know if I want to do that as well. That's also an important thing to do. And then RPI, cultivating my interest. Um, Mostly just Googling things when I have to read articles for homework. I kind of go with ones that I already have passionate about, that I already have passions about, so I can write like little summaries a little bit easier. And I'm also doing my research right now for my master's in kind of water treatment. So that's something that's cultivating my interest. Maybe not in cultivating because I want to be done with it, but it is teaching me some new things that are interesting. So yeah, who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
So if you are interested in medical device design or just design in general, it's really good to think about what exactly you want to create because designs are so varied. There's so many different directions you can go. So if there's anything in particular that you feel like you'd like to do, I know someone mentioned CAD before. Just figure out exactly what you want to create, what people before you have created, what ways or what methods they use to create the objects that they did create. And just know that it's not a linear process. You can think of something one way on one day, and then the next day it could be completely different. So just having that in mind really helps. For things like biomaterials, having a background in biology helps, but it's not necessary. Like Harry mentioned before, you can Google things, you can read research articles, and you can do your own research to figure out what exactly you want to do, how you can do it, what techniques people have used before. And reaching out to experts in a specific field really helps because they can give you advice that you might not have known before and can kind of help guide you on the path that you want to go. And for healthcare reforms, you can do what I did. I just got mad and did research because I was mad. And figure out what problems are going on. If anyone has acknowledged it before, the research that they did, you can go to hospitals, do your own surveys. Honestly, Google helps with everything, and just figure out ways that you can help, even if it's small, talking one-on-one to people, because every little thing really does help. And RPI specifically, I know that there are undergrad research positions that you can apply for to work with specific professors in specific departments and work on projects that might suit your interest or might give you the experience and techniques required to actually achieve your overarching goal. So participating in things like that really did help me because it gave me the confidence to go out on my own and do my own research or know that I could conduct my own experiments to figure out the results that I wanted, as well as just giving me experience working on teams, designing my own products, finding solutions for problems that I'm given. I know for some majors at RPI, you have a senior design class where you are assigned a project, sometimes assigned a team, and you're just told to figure it out. You have to do your own research. So things like that are preparing me for my field because I probably won't be given an answer. Nobody can help me unless I go out and ask them to help me. So those are different ways that RPI has really cultivated my interest in my research topics. And last but certainly not least, Nathan.
Thanks. That's I appreciate that. Uh, I something like security. Even it's I think for like for you and me, or maybe I don't know, for like the common like everyday person or layman, I guess, just like making sure you have, it doesn't seem very serious, like, oh, I'll just, write my password down somewhere. And like in some cases, yeah, because if you're not working in like a company, if you're not talking about a company setting, then like, yeah, maybe it's not the worst thing to do to just write your password in your room or something. But I think that doesn't really encourage like consideration about these kinds of issues. So like if there is a situation where you're working somewhere and you kind of just like let those like little habits and things fly by, that could have greater implications then. So I think everyone can, try to not write their passwords down, or what's really helpful nowadays is using a password manager, and there's a whole bunch of them, and it's like it literally does all the work for you. It's another example of computer science coming to the rescue. Hope no one hacks the password managers. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of ways to just kind of be better and do better. But if we're talking about actually industry, there's competitions are kind of big in cybersecurity. So you can either, if whether you're on a team or by yourself, competitions are great learning experiences. There's capture the flags or CTFs. Those are really like first time basically jump in the deep end and see what you know and what you can do, and then if you didn't get it, you can there's answers somewhere. All those things were designed with answers in mind. So it's always a good time to it's always a good chance to learn about things you didn't know already if you're interested in that. And see very quickly, so we can open the floor for the audience. How has RPI cultivated your research? RPI has a computer security club organization. It's called RPI Sec. I joined it. I mean, my freshman year, things weren't really in person much, so I'm kind of getting the first real experience this year. But that club is very teaches you a lot, and they have workshops, so it's very much with a beginner in mind. It's very good for educating people who either know a bit already or know nothing at all, and they're always around if you have questions. It's a good experience. And I think a lot of places or schools or anything have clubs and organizations where you can just kind of hop in and be like, hey, what are you doing? We're having this one competition, you want to join, where we can go through it together or something. So yeah, definitely security clubs and things of that nature, competitions, like I said, doing things on your own or with others, either or is actually acceptable, and just kind of taking the initiative and doing things like that. And again, if you're not interested in that, just try not to write your password down somewhere. Did anyone else have anything to kind of add in there? Nope.
Had a thought, but I don't know where it went.
Okay. Whenever
It
comes
truly
back.
disappeared.
Yeah, whenever
I
it
don't know if it
reappears again.
will.
Oh. Let's hope it does, right?
I think hmm, it was something along the lines of you it was about summer camps. So if you guys most of you are still in high school or a parent of a elementary school, high school age child or children, try and find little summer camps to go to or just virtual events. Those are free. You don't have to leave your home to go to those either. But kind of finding them because you can find your passions either if you are already interested in it and you know about it, or by going through process of elimination. So I did a bunch of random summer camps that have nothing to do with what I care about right now. My parents sent me to an aerospace camp, and I got to fly a jet simulator and do all these other random things. But that's not. I was like, maybe this isn't for me, and that was really important.
Kind of going along with what Tahira said. Oh, did I cut someone off?
No, you're good.
Sorry, I did. But looking into the community is also a really good way to get into an interest you might have or specific research fields, because everyone is equipped with their own experience, and reaching out, maybe your library is holding a specific program that could lead you into a new field that you like. Maybe the library is training you on a program that's useful for a field that you want to do. There are different programs that exist everywhere, and there are opportunities, be it virtual, in person, that might really interest you or impact you in a way that you didn't expect.
Yeah, just I agree with both of what they said. My my interest, cybersecurity, was really cemented when I went to a basically summer camp, and we actually like did things, and I was like, wait, I'm doing things in the thing I like, and this makes it cooler. And yeah, so just experiences like that are really helpful. I know there's a question, I think it was Preston posted a question in the chat. So that's basically what we want to do, is that we want to field any questions you guys have for us. Anything, most anything at all, STEM related, industry, impact, things like that. So yeah, what was Preston's question? How can STEM hopefully create, I'm guessing cure for cancer, racism, social justice, poverty? How can STEM create and share, a cure for cancer, which has been underway a very long time?
So,
Ooh, I want to start on
Yeah.
this.
it's such a good question.
Yeah, that's really good, Preston. Wow.
So, I'm not sure if my answer will really cover everything that you mentioned, but I know right now we're getting a lot more diversity in STEM. A lot more ideas are being shared. A lot more points of views are being considered. So I know it seems really slow right now, but hopefully with the more voices that get included in STEM, the more people are being considered when a certain issue is out, we can create more solutions for some of the problems that you mentioned. Uh, that's such a good question, and I don't know if my answer even scratched the surface of what you asked.
There's a lot to unpack in this question. But I think not even just for STEM, but like I guess non-STEM industries like social not social studies. I don't know. I'm only a STEM. I'm a STEM girl. But
Humanities.
yes, the humanities, the other things that deal with more interpersonal relations between people. Like all of them have to work together. So while we have like, for example, if there's a building that's like not up to code in like a economically disadvantaged community, there's a civil engineer somewhere, a group of civil engineers to kind of not really blame for that, but someone should have checked. Like there need to be people double checking things, making sure this needs to be made the proper way, and we're gonna have people come and back that up. And like Jasmine said, the more kind of experiences you have coming into like meeting rooms and people that are planning these projects, they can say, well, this is how it's like where I am, since not a lot of you might not have known that before or heard that experience. So what can we do to kind of fix this? Or I've experienced this before. Let's try a new way to solve this problem. But it's going to take a lot of different gears kind of working together.
Yeah, I was gonna just, basically say the same thing, right? Like, there has to be multiple different types of people coming together. That's really the only way I see things like, cure for cancers being shared, and, cures for racism and social justice, and social injustice and poverty. It's just like it's at its core, it's going to require a lot of different types of people. Any other questions from anyone? Anything at all?
Also, thank you for the question. It was so good.
Yeah, that was a good. Thank you, Preston, for that.
And I know that we vaguely asked before, but are there any fields that you guys are interested in possibly pursuing any research you've done on your own that you feel like you want to continue. Anything that you're just genuinely interested in. It doesn't have to be STEM.
And research can count as Googling something you thought was cool.
Yes, that is a fact. Stay passionate. No, I know. I think Preston shared earlier being interested in design. That's pretty cool. That always looks so cool, but I know that it's not for me. Like I'll see people doing stuff and like, oh, that's so cool, you made that. All right, I'm leaving that. Like, so yeah.
Like, that's so cool that I don't want it.
I actually used to be interested in creating prosthetics, but that requires CAD knowledge that I do not possess. So I'm no longer interested in doing that.
But that's someone else's passion, so there's a great spot open right there for them.
Preston's gonna help you out. That's what I was talking about. People working together. With that, if no one has anything they feel the need to share, then you are free to go about your day. Thank you everyone for joining us as we just kind of talked. And hope you felt inspired. Do what you want to do
Thank
in
you
life.
so much.
Thanks for coming.
Happy Black History Month. Yes.
Preston, it's going to be you on this panel next time, right?
Oh, yeah, Preston.
Ooh, Preston.